Dear Helia, Lana's been rather quiet the last few days. I'm not sure if I should be thankful for this or not. It feels like a trap. The calm before the storm, likely. A lot has come to light since the last I wrote. Things I was guessing at and things I had assumptions about. But I'll ease you into my findings, better for drawing you into my stories. On our way back to port, there were a few discussions about expenses for the ship. Logical ones I get to deal with as quartermaster and second mate. Second mate on our ship. Not what either of us pictured, I know. It could never be that easy. Not for me. Maybe for you. But I digress. Mostly, it was talk of getting scatterguns for the crew before we headed to the Nameless Island, in hopes we had something more suited to the creatures there. Fast, quick, stone creatures. I really should review with Watson what the journal actually said, rather than assuming it's just another creature that will likely have the ability to kill us. There's always take a look and reevaluate. Thinking about it now, that is the more likely route to more losses. Fuck being responsible. This whole being in charge thing is overrated, and I'm not even captain. This is exactly why I wanted a small ship. But someone had to dream big. Sad to think that I might be the more reasonable one out of the two of us. There's also talk about picking up another suit of power armor, which is not my thing. I understand why you have it on your plans and why you wanted them. I will let you know if they work as well as you were hoping for vault diving. We're hoping to get a heavy suit, and it sounds like Christopher Napier is excited to pilot it. He got the same small kid smile I get when diving with you. On the plus side, I know he will do fine with the machine once we have it. The downside, it's a more expensive piece of equipment to buy normally, let alone with war times. We're hoping to pick it up on the way back from seeing the Bumpy Descent. This brings me back to Blardral's body. I sorted out a cross path with the Bumpy Descent, catching them before they headed back to the disaster of the artifact. I would direct you at this point back to the last letter I sent you, knowing something was off with the body, as Blardral greeted us on the Bumpy Descent. Clearly not dead. Some of our crew that had seen the body were a bit confused by this. Blardral, the one and only, dismissed this as a missing crew member by the name of Chadwick that looked a lot like him, and it was understandable for us to have made the mistake. I tried to talk to him alone about it. Honestly, I don't know why I bother. No one is ever straight with me as I am with them. I explained to him I had thought it was him, but didn't really understand why he would do something so trivial as to touch the artifact. It just seemed too much of a beginner's mistake. That being said, I cannot tell you how tempted I was, even with a dead body right there, to touch the artifact. It's the same curiosity that gave that feeling of rightness with the vault creature I had told you about when I was younger. The one that killed the first dive team I was with. Something in my head said that it would be alright, that the creature wouldn't harm me. But I also just watched it kill the dive team. Mostly, I know Blardral is going back to the artifact. He isn't satisfied. And I get that. A lot of vault divers, I think, get that. He needs to know. I had got enough to keep that at bay, till I can figure out more before going back. And the only resource I have on that is ignoring me. In fairness, she likely has better things to be doing than checking in on a demanding humus, regardless of how frustrated I am with her. That being said, it's not even at her. It's more at people not taking me seriously. Why beat around the fucking bush? Fuck how I hate dealing with humans most days. Me and Blardral had a long enough conversation behind closed doors. Enough so that he should have felt comfortable to let me in on what I was already onto. Me telling him the happenings of the artifact and how we found the body, I figured would have been enough from my side to earn more than a stupid cover-up story from him. I have Samara to thank once more for the information that we got from him. But I will get back to that bad idea in a moment. We stayed in respect for the dead as Chadwick was laid to rest. Between Samara and Shep, they came across an interesting list of the crew. Or rather, a list of names on the crew manifest that we now know are crew that never were on the Bumpy Descent. This had Samara's curiosity written all over it. And the way she admits to finding out about it with Shep's help, the way she smiles when she talks about it as if it was Shep's idea. She acts overly innocent about it, tells me it was her idea all along. The flirtation in which she does it is just one of the many reasons why she is so attractive. Likely, the action is second nature to her. Attending the funeral rites, Samara dug a bit deeper into the names to find out that no one really knew who they were, drawing the attention of the Master Gunner when she did. Most of Blardral's crew seemed rather indifferent to Chadwick, and their stories all seemed too rehearsed. The same how I felt about what Blardral told me. One of those, this is obviously a lie, and you know it's a lie, kind of deals. Samara more or less told me this and suggested that maybe the list was Blardral lookalikes he picked up in port. Which didn't quite seem right, as that didn't explain the journaling pages. For a change of pace, it was not my curiosity that landed the "I have a bad idea" line. Samara wanted to see how Blardral would react to a lookalike. Her change was shorter than I have noticed before. Her and I made our way over to the Bumpy Descent, where she started a conversation with Blardral as Blardral. Moments like this make it clear to me that Blardral is actually an experienced diver. He didn't seem overly fazed by a double of himself, and had music boxes working sooner rather than later. Samara's ability doesn't seem to be affected by music boxes, as I think it's more a part of her being, much like wings are to an Aeon. The shift is real. Her body is altered to be that humus, in whatever shape or form they are. A bit unnerving if you linger on it. Well, I took the first half of this conversation through the doors rather than in person, as Samara was a little worried for her well-being, as a smart Shar lady should be. I was just outside the door in case anything went sideways, being called out for it by Blardral, or him calling out his just as curious guards. The fact he wasn't surprised amused me, as the Master Gunner, after speaking with Samara, went and spoke to him, likely letting him know what Samara was asking about, then seeing Samara speaking with me. I would jump to the same preparations of expecting something to be coming from the opposing side. The fact that he couldn't dispel it with music boxes, I think, earned respect points that may have been dropped when I gave a vague description of Samara being an outsider as to how she was Blardral. Let me summarize what we've learned. Blardral has been encountering dead bodies that look like him for the last 9 years or so, since being on the Bumpy Descent. They appear on the crew's manifest, but no one knows who they are. The dead in question direct notes as if they will be found in regards to whatever event surrounds their death. Blardral takes this personally, which is fair, they look like him. He also feels responsible for each of their deaths. This has been going on about twice a year. Well, I extended a hand to help him with the situation. He claims he already has an idea to make it stop. This being said, he didn't explain it, only says he wants to involve people he trusts in this. People that understand the risks. I'm a bit hurt by that statement. I wouldn't have offered if I didn't understand the risk. He offered to reach out if he thought that there was something that I could help with, which is probably the best that I could ask for out of the situation. Him acknowledging that I offered and he might be willing to take me up on it. Now we find out if that's before or after Mon Cavalier gets twisted into this mess further, or when he is actually in trouble. The outside of the box thinking on this one is, why did we find the body and the letters? If we found the body because of the letters, then are they really meant for Blardral? The fact that points to yes on this is the bodies look like Blardral. So hear my wild theories out. You have an outsider that is powerful enough to shape humus. Think similar to what Samar does, but from an outsider perspective. Why Blardral? He has done this to himself with his books. The outsider is buying into Blardral just like a Shar. So they either need or want something from him in regards to what vault divers do. It's trying to get his attention, and it's worked, but it's not great at communicating what it wants. The same way the outsider with the artifact wants something, but is struggling because of the anger to communicate anything other than anger. There are a few holes in this theory, gaps that if Blardral was more honest and comfortable with us, I might be able to fill in. But right now, it's mostly guesswork. One of the bigger things I don't have enough information on is what kind of situations are they finding the dead bodies? He made 2 comments of a lot of the time they are not a recognizable body, and it's often on bigger ventures. It makes me kind of wonder if my theoretical outsider is grabbing at ideas of Blardral, like making incomplete copies, which is to say they lack a lot of the knowledge he has, the main part that keeps him alive, or are they dying to get his attention? Something for me to dive into the next time I can get to a library worth researching things in. Blardral, the Bumpy Descent, and outsiders with the ability to create humus? The last one seems a bit far-fetched when I write it down. Perhaps the first outsider like this to have been recorded. But hey, we just encountered an outsider that molds flesh. Maybe it's not creating them so much as shaping them to look like him. I'll keep you posted on what I come up with, if I don't get completely sidetracked by the original goal of the Nameless Island. I still have yet to follow up with Samar's dad's rival as to her tracings of where he was last, and a follow up with Mr. Winterman. Though the second one, I'm not sure I have any interest in the likely spy. I suppose I could confirm my suspicions that he is one. On that front, I suppose I'm glad to do vague missions, like looking for pirates, without outright dealing with spies, so to say. Leave it to brains like Morden that want to and have the capacity to deal with information that needs to get to where it needs to. I have ranted long enough. I start my shift soon. Till next time I write, beautiful. Signed, yours always, Born Mad Hades.